Hello, this is Gerald to half of us. It should not be too difficult actually to know where letters are used in words and why they are used there. Once we know and realize what kind of categories they fit with, what kind of attention it will demand from us by simply hearing and associating these letters, it will become more and more clear how a system works with letters. So certain letters are really focusing themselves upon positions. Other ones are more about directions, and other ones are more about a certain behavior in a time and space context. So space is dominant, time is dominant. All the space-time continuation in the background can be dominant and is used as a background to describe the letters and in which positions or directions or behavior it is associated with. And we don't have to make always difficult words. Let's have a word which should actually be quite quickly accessible of its content, and that's the word peak. What kind of letters are there? So when we use a system of organization which is based upon numerical, geometrical and other associations also into a certain order that I have defined as a kind of automated system of making order, which is as real as we use right, left, middle and so on. So it is using quite basic terms to determine what we need in a logic when we pick out certain letters and associate the most dominant features in them. So in peak we have 4 letters, and these 4 letters are into these 2 categories. One category is about placement, so they are placed, so we have a placement somewhere, and 2 letters are about timed conditions, so it is a combination of these 2. It's not about a whole behavior which changes all the time in conditions. No, peak is just one condition, and this condition is described by the letters. So we have these 2 kinds of different focus that we need for it. So one of these focuses is about fixed points, that's at one eye there, and the other ones are about changes and moves which are defined by the 2 eyes. So the eye which is following from right to left and see where things are evolving. So that's a different mindset, and it's different letters that we use to describe these kinds of situations. Why this works so it's not in this video, but this is how it works and how we can find the definition by knowing these positions. And the most easy thing we know already, peak can be expressed quite easily with the determined place in a frequency within a wave. It will be very easy to describe it as such, and all the letters can also be described not just in positions into a kind of object, but they can also be described as conditions that evolve and that will ask your attention in a different way in the first, the second and the third category. And so it is then in 1 wave, 2 waves or 3 waves into these 3 categories. And the positions there, the A is that 1 wave where we start actually a movement or whatever, or an attention, let's call it an attention, an impulse, a pulse there, which isn't repeated, it's just the starting point of a pulse. That's where the letter A is, the A of the A, the E, which is E. Actually, we have to define it as well, the written down letters and the pronounced letters. So A is pronounced as A, and the E is how we write down E. We associate actually the letter mostly with E as its foundation. Now A is about then the timed conditions, and it is going towards the impulse of the peak values actually as well, when we look into the definitions how we define E. Now I put it here into the middle of a double wave. I will come to the interpretation later, and the P is about the direction at the borders there, so the end direction. So it's like almost like the final destination of directions that we're trying to look into. These four letters are used with the letter K is there at the end of at the bottom. It's that breaking point of logic where we say, okay, maybe one position isn't enough. Let's find out if if there are differences that we can still find out. That's basically one of the associations that you can have. I'm not going to explain the logic and the order and so on. I did that already many times before. But these are the four letters. So how do we combine them? How do they describe the word peak? Of course, you have the separate letters, but it's of course not enough just to pinpoint the exact positions in A and K and pinpoint the directions in E and P. That's not enough. It's of course not enough, because we also have to have the order. We have to respect the order of the word that starts from P, go to E, A and K. So we have to start from P. So there we will start our viewpoint. Where's the viewpoint? If we started from, the first figure is our viewpoint. We go towards someone else's position, another condition, and so on. In the timing, we have two positions always. My position and then the position where we go to. P will go to look into the differences, where all the differences lead to. So it is all often expressed as this pop out, because it's all kinds of directions, and it will lead to a different place, a different context. It can be a lot of things, but that's the direction we are looking into, and that's the expression that we are looking towards via the letter P. Anyway, a very good help is these associations of P, where we're actually going to focus upon, but how much is it deviating, and in which directions are all the results evolving? So where will be, in the end, our result? Where will that be? That kind of mindset is expressed with the letter P always. I have to use a lot more words to be exact, already to be even more exact, but okay, you have already a clue in which direction the P will be going, in a diagonal sense as well, because that's the diagonal direction, a direction in 1, 2, 3 options. So it is also into this general sense. I have to find a direction somewhere at a certain diagonal where I will find the end result, something like that. So when I have the wave included, it's not that wave where I start from, but it's that wave of continuation, where I will go to see where will it lead to, and how will it look, and where will it direct to, and that kind of associations are already there in that first letter P. It's followed up by the letter E. E is, as I also told before, that highlight, so it goes towards the direction of that highlight, a highlight in a process, into a time process. So there is a process going on, there are some changes going on, and I go towards the point where the most of the change will be visible. That's the letter E. That's the association with the letter E. But it's not letter E alone, it's combined with the letter A, so not just E, but also A. The letter A is about that middle point of focus, that centralized focus, that starting point focus, as you can see it underneath. But here I will go to see where can I start from, where is that continuation possible, where is that center value of it also visible. That's how I have to associate A all the time. But it's combined with E and A, so it's that highlight which I should be able to use as a centralized value. Not just with E and A, it's also pronounced as E, so I also have in a way also that association with the letter E. E is in the third category. It's about realizing what is different. Also, it is in this continuation, it is also trying to look for the conditions where something is different as a common, as it's always in a continuation. So it really makes a difference. It makes a distinction. So how distinctive is it? How different is it? Is the association with the letter E in combination with E, A, and E. So it's all going towards that peak value point as well, as a full value as well. And with the A, of course, with a certain range of a value. So you have a centralized point, but in a way also with a certain range where you can see, okay, it has a value in not just as a peak value, but also with a certain range that I can say, okay, from here to here, I can still define it as such as the peak. And the K really says like, okay, but we have to have a certain border there as well. It is also, in A, it is a certain range where it is, but with the K as the end result is also very important to define also where it is not. So the peak value is also a value of balance that says here we have a peak, because also somewhere else we do not have the peak. So we really make that kind of distinction with the K, makes it even stronger, that we also realize what the peak values are not at the same time, not just the highlighted like in a mountain and so on, because the mountains can continue onwards and onwards and they can have all these kind of variation. No, the peak value is really bordered in and limited in its conditions where we can define it as such as the peak. And here we have it actually a little bit resumed, so we go towards where will it lead to? It will lead to this centralized peak value with a feedback that we also can sense it, and of course with a certain range that is limited. Here I have described even more, so we start from P, we follow the directions towards the end results. We have the E, or the highlighting change that we go towards it as the result, combined with A as a fixed starting point where we should also be able to work with, where we will receive also in the sound its feedback that we can really notice there what is different. That's how we perceive it in the oral sense as E, and that works until we have a breaking point from here onwards. It's no longer that peak value, so it has a certain range. That's how we describe the peak, and could be understood very well as well. It's actually not too far away from beak. The P is a soft push forward towards that result. The B is a harder, more physical breaking point, so it will even break it even more open. The beak will be at the same spot. It can even be broken open, be wider, and so on. But the beak can be placed upon the same spot as peak as well, but with more physical appearances, of course, because B is about the physical appearances. P is not. It's about the value. It's about the way how something has a certain continuation as a value, as a condition, as how it is defined in the second category. B is from the first category of letters. It's about physicality. This physicality in beak should be able to be understood as well, even though you can express it slightly different as well. I'm not going to go too deep into that, but peak and beak and its differences should be understandable now thanks to this video, if you wouldn't already have understood it beforehand when knowing the letters already a little bit more better. So here's the beak again, so a certain range where you can have that beak position actually. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this one, and this brought you also closer to understanding the letters positions, the letters directions, the letter behaviors, and also make you realize that the letters are not randomly chosen. They direct your mind into certain conditions, and these conditions describe the words. If you have a suggestion for a word that you think, okay, I want to know what it means as a letter combination, ask me. I'm open to such suggestions. Also for words that have many different meanings, but we should of course know how and why it has been used in its complete sense as well, to understand the letter combinations in a proper way in this method as well. So do not give me like some very weird, strange language which the people who speak it just slightly don't even know how it is associated. No, that's not the kind of examples I would like to have. You have to really know how it is used and in how many sorts of associations that are immediately come to mind at the same time when you use it, or when you associate it with words that are quite similar. Okay, this was it for this time. I hope you enjoyed this, of course, and there's some books to prepare you if you like. There's a Facebook page, there's a Sounding Fun web page with previous videos, alphabetically order, so you can have similar words investigated there as well. Thanks again for watching. Bye.